MPM, and Happy New Year. New Year, new format. Welcome to Nightbreed Metal Radio. Later in the show, I will be talking to Autopsy, Varathron, and Terrestrials. I've got my top 10 cult films of 2023, and there'll be some new music and news at the end of the show. But first up, I had a chat with Youngy about Crisisact, and also what King Parrot have been up to. Dead Set Records, his label, what they're doing. Here he is. This is Youngy. You got a lot less hair than when I saw you last, man.
Oh, yeah. I cut it off, man. Yeah. Got rid of it. I was like, I don't know. It's just a little experiment just to see if I could still do it.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So when we last spoke, we were talking King Parrot and what you'd been up to and stuff. You guys recently got back from North America, right?
Yeah, we just did a North American tour. It was the first one in since all the COVID stuff happened. So yeah, it was great to get back there. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So how was it? Pantera, Lamb of God, Weed Eater. Like, was there much sort of hanging out and all the rest of it? Like, it's just a big fun kind of, because there's a lot of shows together, right?
We did, we did like 34 shows all up, and we got to do like a week with Pantera and Lamb of God, which was awesome, and then we did it like a week with Weed Eater as well, and then we did a bunch of like other little fests here and there, and a bunch of headlining shows as well on the West Coast, and yeah, there wasn't much time for hanging out really. Like we had a couple days at the start and a day at the end, just to sort of wrap things up, but it was pretty busy the whole time. I think we only had 2 days off the whole tour, so we were working hard, but that's not to say we didn't have a great time as well. It was awesome, and getting to see the whole Pantera thing happen, in person and actually get to play as well was an incredible experience. And catching up with the Weed Eater guys was great as well, because we hadn't seen them for many years, but we've done several tours with them in the past, and great guys, and this is, when you see old mates that you've spent significant time with, it's like you just sort of pick up from where you left off, and so cool to see them again. I love those guys, and really, really cool band.
Yeah, man, awesome. That's cool. So Crisisact. Let me get this right. It's Dave Haley, Jay Haley, Brett from Revocation, and you. Is that right?
It's sort of, yeah. Like, Brett from Revo was on the first record that we did, but he wasn't able to do this one, unfortunately. But
okay,
I did catch up with him when I was in the States, and he said that he's keen for future stuff. So we'll see how that works out. But I think he had an injury or something like that, and when we were recording it, he just wasn't able to do it at that time. And I think he's been super busy with Revocation as well. They've just put out a record and all that too. So
yeah, no, that's cool, man. So for this release, was it the three of you? Is that?
Yeah, it was just the three of us. Yeah. So, I mean, not that we would it's like, I mean, we've never played in the room together before. So like there's no jam and there's no nothing. It's just sort of Joe and Dave record it and send it to me, and I put the vocals on it. Joe mixes it, and then we just put it out. So it's total studio project, but we've been having a lot of fun doing it, and I've been enjoying listening to the final product. It's been getting pretty well received, which is awesome. And we just, now that we've done a couple, we're kind of looking at going, oh, well, maybe we should just do a whole album. So I think that's maybe what we might try and do next. And then there's obviously people going, hey, you need to play a gig. So maybe doing a tour or something.
Yeah, nice, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're doing the vocals. So
right.
How does it work when it comes? Have you got like a finished musical side of the song, and you're like, right, this is where I think the vocals go, or is there more of a chat before that happens? Like
nothing. There's just like,
okay. Yeah.
It's just, man, I get the songs, and they're like, I mean, if you've listened to Psychroptic, you know what Joe and Dave are like, like they are consummate professionals. So I get the demos, and it's already like a finished album, you know, like it's already a million times better than anything you've heard from not 99% of the bands out there. You know, it's already tight and it's done and it sounds amazing and it's huge and it's just, yeah, there's no bung notes or anything like that. It's all perfectly in time. So yeah, so I just get that, you know, and then I do some demos of that. I'm probably the one that sort of makes it lag a little bit in terms of putting it out sooner, because, you know, I like to sort of do the song and put it all out there and put some thought into what's going on with the vocals a little bit and make it as good as you can, you know. So I'll do some demos and send it back to those guys just to see what they say. But, you know, they're really supportive and super cool with the way that they, you know, they got me in to do it because they wanted me to do it, I guess. So, and, you know, I wasn't going to say no. So I think they trust that I'm going to, you know, do a good job, hopefully. And, you know, I send the demos back to them and they'll go, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. And then I'll go and record them. I go record the vocals properly at a studio or whatnot. And yeah, and that's sort of basic. It's not real complicated, man. It's just sort of very
that's good. That's good.
Very simple, man. Very straight down the line. You know, it's a pleasure to be involved in a project like that.
Yeah. Your vocals are obviously recognizable as you, but that's definitely different to King Parrot. Like, is that something going in? You're like, trying something different, or, you know, or maybe it's a production thing. I don't know. Like it sounds like you, but it's different, you know?
Yeah. I think it's, well, I guess there's probably a couple of things to that. I mean, I'm definitely doing more low death metal guttural kind of stuff in the Crisisact stuff. But then I think, you know, it's probably Joe, the way Joe mixes it probably has something a little bit to do with it, where it's sitting in the mix, and also just playing over just my vocals over completely different music to King Parrot.
Yeah,
you know, King Parrot's like more of a I think it's definitely got more of a rock and roll aesthetic, more punk rock. I mean, even though it's still got the grindcore elements and thrash elements and all of that, it's a much more rock and roll band in terms of the way we approach things, as opposed to a band like Psychroptic, for instance, who are like, you know, technical death metal bands, very tight, you know, click tracky kind of stuff, where we're kind of King Parrot's a lot looser. So I guess. Yeah, but I've definitely made an emphasis with the Crisisact stuff to, you know, really hit the low stuff, the low end stuff, and work on that, and, you know, just put in a bit of variation as well. But I've made a conscious effort not to overthink it as well. Just kind of go with the idea that comes to mind as I'm hearing the song, and I'll listen to it a bunch of times, and then I'll just start writing and start recording ideas. And, you know, I've got a cool little studio set up here, so I can just sort of, you know, as soon as I've got music or whatever, I can just start recording demos, you know, straight away. So that's I'm lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So the first release, Turn It Off, came out like October 2020. Like, did Crisisact start as a thing because of lockdown, or was it something you guys were chatting about before then?
I don't think it was actually. I'm not sure if it was like because of lockdown or anything like that. But it just happened to be that it happened at that time, you know, and we were kind of bored and sitting around doing nothing as well. So it was like, yeah, I mean, but I don't think we kind of consciously said, oh, let's just do this because we can't tour or we can't do anything. We just did it because I just did it because they asked me to do it, and they probably just did it because they wanted to do a different project. So, you know, they just wanted to do sort of more of an old school kind of grindcore thing. And, you know, Joe's such a great player that I just love the way that Crisisact sounds with his playing. It's sort of, you know how much he's capable of. You know how much more he's capable of doing when you hear those riffs. And he throws some of those little intricate licks into some of those riffs, but it's almost like he's holding himself back, and it feels like it's so heavy, and it's so like there's some real beefy stuff in there, but it's almost like he's holding himself back, and I feel like that gives this kind of intensity to the music almost. It sets it a little bit, sets it apart from the other projects that those guys have done and that I've done as well. So it's cool. I think we feel like we're kind of onto something, and we're actually getting together in a room. Well, not with Joe, but me and Dave. We're recording a video. We're filming a video on Friday for one of the other songs. Yeah. So that'll be the closest we've had to having a jam, but we're just filming a video. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be for the title track of the record, Artificial Noose. So that's cool.
Yeah. Talking videos, the Swathed in Skin and Scum. You got a beach behind you. Are you at the beach, or is that some kind of green screen thing going on?
Yeah, no, I'm there. I was on a cliff. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's not far from where I live. So yeah, I was just like, why not? Yeah. The beach is there. Why not?
Yeah.
But we're going to do this one the next one's going to be in a proper studio. It'll look more like a band and all of that sort of stuff. So
yeah. No, that's cool. So for that first one, like you weren't in the same room. You just filmed each other separately. So who put it all together? Like who put all that video together for you?
Rob Brennans did it, and he was like, we filmed it all on our phones and stuff like that, is on the highest resolution we could, and we sent it to him. And Rob's like, "Oh, don't give me any credit for this video. This is not what I do," So we were like, "All right, man, we'll come to the studio and we'll do a proper video with you." Because
cool.
So we're going to do a proper video with him on Friday, and I don't think it'll take it too long to turn it around. So we're hoping to have that video out in a couple of weeks. So
wicked. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the songs are only a minute long, right? It doesn't need that much editing or polish or anything like that. It's like let's just capture it and get it done and get it out there, So that's the beauty of the project as well, though. It's just like it's simple and it's great fun. It's easy to do, and you just do it and you just keep going,
Yeah, that's cool. I saw so Boyd Sinnott, is that how I say his name?
Sinnott, Boyd Sinnott.
Yeah. So he did the artwork for a King Parrot release, and obviously the first Crisisact, and then sadly, he's passed away. Artificial Noose looks a lot like his stuff. Is that one of his?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the last things he did. We've been sitting on this record for a little while now. It was just sort of we just didn't. We were all just busy with other stuff, so we just didn't have the time to put it out. It just is, like I think Psychroptic were going over to America and they were there, and then we actually caught up with each other when we were in America. We kind of crossed paths when we were in Florida, so we met up in a Walmart car park actually while we were in America, but going back to what you were saying about Boyd, he that was one of the last things he did, and he was one of my best mates and amazing artist, and someone that was really understood what Crisisact was about too, as well as King Parrot. Like he's super involved with all of that stuff, he actually did the on that first video, on that Swathed in Skin and Scum video, he actually did all the writing, the lettering and stuff.
Cool. And
that was kind of our little in-joke for the Crisisact videos. What we were going to do is like have lyric videos. So the lyrics are there, but you can't, because they're written in grindcore writing, so you can't really read it. That was just a stupid in-joke that we were going to do. So we were going to do that for every Crisisact video. So I don't know if Rob Brennans when he does this new video, he's going to be able to do something like that. But we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
cool.
But it was fun, man. It was a fun thing to do, and just a cool project to have. And I mean, it's super sad that he's gone now. It's like far out, man. He was so involved with everything that I did musically. So yeah, it's sort of been a bit daunting looking forward, going, oh shit, we're working on a new King Parrot record and doing the Crisisact stuff, and and it's like, oh, we just got to sort of broaden the scope a little bit, and it's that's life, right?
Yeah, nah, that sucks, man. Sorry, but yeah. Cool. So yeah, you run Dead Set Records, right? So how's that going? I saw you guys got a Christmas sale going on. You're part of Dead Set, right?
Yeah, man. That's my label. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm just man, I love records. I love vinyl. I love putting records out. I started doing it. Kind of around that COVID time as well. I think it was just sort of, I love buying records. I've always got records coming every week. So, I just thought, like, why not have your own label to put your own stuff out on? And I think just the landscape of the way that the music comes out these days is sort of changing a little bit, and I feel like it's nice to sort of have a little bit of your own control over that to a degree, especially for here in Australia for a band like King Parrot anyway, and for other bands that I like to work with that are sort of coming up through the ranks or whatnot. It's nice to be able to have that sort of a label there that cares. I'm not like doing it to make money or anything. I just do it because I love it, and like the same as what you're probably doing, like you just do it because you love it, right? If you were going to do it to make money, you'd be fucking doing something else.
Yeah, that's it, man. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
So outside of your own stuff, what have you been listening to lately? What are you checking out?
Oh, wow. Let me have a look at my phone quickly.
Yeah, all right.
Let me see what's on there.
Yeah.
I've been listening to I listened to a bit of Noisem the other day. A bit of old school stuff. Was listening to GBH. Another band called Jarhead Fertilizer. Yeah, I don't know if you heard of them.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. US band. Super cool band. Young dudes. Cancer Christ. Getting into Cancer Christ. Another US band. I know you heard, they've been touring around a bit. They kind of got dressed up. The dude dresses up like Jesus, and it's pretty funny. Dozer. I was listening to Dozer. I did some vocals with a band called Smoke Witch recently. Did a little split 7-inch release with them and played a few shows with them actually, and we supported Dozer, stoner rock band out of Sweden. That was really cool. Bird Flesh. Been listening to the new Bird Flesh one. That's a really cool record. What else? Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
Staple Diets. Even though it's probably not brand new now, like that new Obituary record, the latest one. It's great, man. I love that record. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them in January when they come out. That'll be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like I've liked everything they put out, but this one, the new one, is particularly good. It's
It's got some super cool hooks in there. It's like they just sort of remind me of like the AC/DC of death metal or something. It just got that. They don't have to do anything else. They've got the sound. They've got they just have those sick Trevor Perez riffs that are just awesome and awesome guys. Great band. So looking forward to catching up with them in January. That's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure. So talking next year, what do you got planned? Like a Crisisact and King Parrot both up to stuff next year?
Oh man, I hope so. We're working on new King Parrot at the moment. That's the goal. That's the sort of plan. Like it's a little bit tricky for us. So our drummer Toddy lives up in Brisbane, and where the rest of us are here in Victoria, and we don't sort of live in close proximity. So it's a little bit tricky to get together at times. But really been pushing the guys to start sharing demos and stuff online and doing all that sort of stuff. So we're going to get to work over that on that over the summer months and try and get super tight with the new material that we've got and get that recorded as soon as we can. And then we'll head up the East Coast with the Nightfest thing in March. And then there may be some touring early next year. I'm not sure just yet. We maybe just talk to Europe and maybe North America again, but I'm not sure just yet. But I mean, we'd love to have a new record out by the end of next year, sort of toward the end of next year, if we can make that happen and just do some videos and start playing again, like hitting what we do,
Yeah, cool. And what about Crisisact? Like you were saying, maybe a longer release or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, Joe was like, he goes, I could write one of those EPs every week if you want. Like, I'm like, well, yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, Dave's other band, Werewolves, is like putting out a record every other minute, It's like, what? Yeah, no, it's like, well, but look, no doubt they'll put something together. I think they're working on new Psychroptic at the moment, so I'll let them do that. That's the priority, of course. And when the tunes come, I'll just start working on the vocals, man. We'll put it out, but yeah, like it'll happen soon, no doubt. I mean, we were sitting on this most recent sort of EP, I guess you could call it, for maybe a year or so. So, yeah, man, it'll happen for sure. We're keen, and we're keen to tour as well. It's just we've had a bunch of opportunities and things like thrown around, going, oh, maybe we can do this tour or that tour and it just hasn't lined up yet. So I'm hoping that sort of maybe mid next year, everyone's got a bit of stuff going on in the first half of the year with regard to doing their main bands, I guess, new albums. So we'll get that done and then do a Crisisact one sort of around mid-year and see what happens, see when it comes out. I'm not sure, but it's been nice to be able to just put this one out and get lots of good feedback, which has been great. So it's been really encouraging. It's better than I expected. So
yeah, that's cool. And what about Dead Set Records? Have you got anything lined up for next year?
Well, we've got like a few things coming out that I can't say too much about yet.
Sure. Yeah.
But like all the stuff that I just mentioned, obviously, and then the other little bits and pieces that pop up, and there's other bands that I like work with. Like I work with the guys from Black Reno in Sydney. I work with the guys from Chuff here in Melbourne, and I work with Astro Death from Sydney as well. So they got little projects popping up and things that they're working on as well. And if it's suitable, it may come out through Dead Set Records. It may not. I'm not sure yet. But there's lots of things happening with those guys as well that keep me busy. So it's it's exciting to be able to also not only do my own bands, but work with bands that I love, in a managerial capacity or in a record label capacity or whatever. So that's been pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Cool. Well, look, Youngy, thanks for your time. It's been good to chat, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up next year or something after you got something finished and out, like another thing,
Yeah. You're in Perth, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, we'll be in Perth next year, man. I promise you that.
Good to hear, man.
Might not be till the later second half of the year, but we'll be there.
Oh, good, man. I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be there, man.
Unreal, man. Thanks so much for your support. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Have a good one, eh?
You too, man. Cheers.
Cheers for joining us, Youngy. And Crisisact Artificial News is streaming everywhere. Definitely get onto it. It's heavy-hitting stuff. And it sounds like maybe King Parrot will be making their way over to WA late 2024, which is good news, which likely means if you're somewhere else in the country or the world, you will see King Parrot on stage near you sometime soon, so look out. Now, this band, Varathron, is a Greek black metal band that's been going since 1988. I speak with Achilles and Stefan about their awesome new album, but first of all, we talk about the origins of Varathron.
In 90s, the classic heavy metal and thrash metal band dominated. So were a few people who listened something different. Some extreme bands like Bathory, like Slayer, like Death, like Celtic Frost, Hellhammer, Venom, and any other different extreme bands, and so different than the mainstream bands who listen to the rest people. So all this created inside us a passion for the extreme music. So in 1986, I created Sickness Mind. It was a band with grind and thrash elements. But in 1988, we created Varathron. We created this band who's the first Greek black metal band, who's one of the pioneers in black metal scene in Europe and I think in the whole world. Me, Jim Mutilator, and Captain Death from Sound Pollution, we created Varathron. We created something so different than the bands who listened the rest people. And that was a flame inside us who still burns until now.
That's awesome.
You know what I think is that well, in 1987 I was a fetus and baby, so I don't know much, but I always felt that in that year's music and culture here were always 5 years late. So what was happening in USA, in rest of the Europe, it was very late here in Greece, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So to be able to play black metal and be a pioneering band in Greece, I think and I believe was amazing back then. There weren't technology, there weren't any people that actually knew the music.
Yes.
They didn't know what was extreme in general. Yeah,
That's awesome. Were there many metal shows locally when Varathron began?
Well, I think those years was only some classic heavy metal show. In Greece, I saw some only a few metal shows, extreme, like Sound Pollution, Roddy Christ, when they play grind, and only a few bands, and a lot of bands in hardcore, and noise. The live show starts, I think, after 5-6 years later. They start.
Yeah, even in the shows like AC/DC or Motorhead, you always have police officers like want to beat up people because back then I think they
the
thought
situation here in Greece was very, very bad for extreme music. Also in classic heavy metal music was full of troubles around,
Yeah.
So after 35 years, Varathron is still going strong. Why do you think this band has survived while so many other bands from the late 80s and early 90s haven't?
Yes, I think I have a lot of great passion and desire for, for created extreme music. I love my band from the first step. We have enough to give, I think, to give to world our fans through this band, and that's the way we're keeping going. And that's is 1st of December. Today we have the release of our new album, The Crimson Table. I think is a very good album, and thanks all the people who received so many great comments around the world.
Yeah, good. That's
Well,
good.
yeah, I think we have all seen how hard it is for members in bands to lower their egos and work and act as a whole. And Varathron, I think they're thriving right now because we're getting along really well. Stefan had to go through a lot of lineup changes through the years. Didn't have people
Yes.
that were loyal to you, to your
Yeah.
vision, to the band, and what the band represented. So he kept going through difficult times where he was completely alone and never surrendered until he managed to achieve his goal. That needs a lot of passion, as Stefan said, and being true to yourself and to the vision. Keeping a band alive, I think, needs mainly sacrifices. Actually, anyone working or playing metal, or I mean, even the press, the journalists, photographers, we are all doing sacrifices. Nobody,
Yes.
most of the people don't make any money out of this. This is just pure passion. So I think the bands that don't have that, they're just fade out.
That's cool, man. Yeah. So the Crimson Temple is your first studio album since 2018's Patriarchs of Evil. How long have these songs been brewing? In other words, how long have you been working on the songs for this album?
Yeah, actually, 2 or 3 songs were already in progress when we recorded Patriarchs of Evil a few years ago, like The Sinners of the Crimson Table, Constellation of the Archons, or Shrouds of the Miasmic, the Miasmic Winds. They were recorded roughly back then, but there were already too many songs, so we decided to work further on them. We didn't want to have a double album, and then we composed in different time periods. Most of them, I think, were completed in 2021. So we keep a Dropbox folder in where we keep all of our ideas, our jams in the studio. So in the end, when it was 2022, as a producer, I looked through the folder and I said to the guys, we have these songs, and we decided all together what songs we were going to work on and record. But there are also many other songs that we have kept to work on in the future.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Were you trying to do anything different with the Crimson Temple? Is the production or the themes different from your previous releases?
Yes, Patriarchs of Evil was a great album, was a very good album. So it was another for us pet to create something more successful for us. One more step in all levels. I think one more step in music, one more step in layout, in cover, in everything. So I think was a great bet for us, but I think we win it on it, yes, because the new album of us, The Crimson Table, is really one step from the previous Patriarchs of Evil, and of course the cover is amazing. Paolo Girardi has a great painting and make so great work, fantastic, awesome work.
Yeah, I think the production vision in Patriarchs of Evil was clear to us. We wanted
Yes.
to gather the best and unique elements of Varathron since 1989, and the band was finally starting to play live shows, and we played all of our discography, so that came to life into Patriarchs of Evil. But this time we wanted to go bigger artwork concept, as Stefan said, more impressive compositions, more powerful production, bring new ideas on the table, while the songs are also made for live shows, and that is important. Because right now we're finally a good live band. So my answer would be that this album is a very natural progress of Patriarchs of Evil. And we also wanted to introduce and experiment just a little bit with traditional instruments, Middle Eastern occult themes and atmospheres. For me, these are the main differences. Yeah.
Yes.
Talking about those instruments, were they hard to record? Was it hard to capture the sound of some of those instruments? Because I'm guessing they didn't have like a guitar jack you could just plug in or something.
Yeah. Some of them were recorded like the ney or the oud, but others, if you know the canon, which is a weird instrument, you can listen to that one in Ascension playing the main theme. That is a library of pre-recorded stuff that we used. So some of them were recorded and others were just recorded libraries.
Oh, cool. Right. Yeah, cool. Nice. So you've had the lineup changes, obviously, but how else do you think Varathron has changed over the years,
Well, I think Varathron is not changed in the basic. Anybody have to evolves, and this is logical. We have this evolution, but the basic is the same. We were faithful in our our roots in 1988, and we still continue on this way. Of course, we have a lot of other elements. We have more obscure, more occult atmosphere, more heavy metal riffs, classic, and all of this is that we call Greek black metal scene and style. Sorry, style.
Yeah,
black metal style.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's okay.
So away from Varathron for a minute, what bands or albums have you been listening to lately?
I'm a musical producer of radio. This is
radio producer.
Radio producer, in local my hometown, and I played and I listened, of course, a lot of bands. For this year, I like very much. I love the new album of Immortal.
Ah, yeah.
Yes. Cannibal Corpse, Autopsy, Obituary, Blood as North, a lot of classic heavy metal bands, especially in new wave of British heavy metal. A lot of bands who created great music, and this is very good for me. A lot of bands from the past, from the from 80s, they're reborn again and created great works, and that is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like the new Judas Priest, they've still got it. Like, that's amazing. I've been at it for so long. It's still strong. It's great. Yeah. And sorry, what have you been listening to lately?
To be honest, because of my work now as a producer and engineer, I've been working with a lot of bands and record labels. So unfortunately for me, sometimes I don't have much time to listen to music because all day I'm listening to music I produce and work with. For example, except for the bands I work with. For example, this one, Reifert, excellent thrash album.
Yes.
You should listen. But I work also with Vic Records from Netherlands. And we do a lot of demo restorations, a lot of re-releases from old stuff, great stuff. He's a great guy. And I also work with Floga Records, and we also do a lot of re-releases, and I work a lot of them. So I mainly listen to the stuff I work, and I'm not really, I don't really follow always, new releases. But Stefan is always here to let us know what to listen to and what's good out there.
Yeah, cool. That's great. So are there plans for any more singles or videos from the Crimson Temple?
The album was actually released, is being released today. This is the release date. Yes.
Cool.
So
1st of December.
Yeah. No more singles. And to be honest, it's still weird for me that we call these singles, because this is just the album, and we just
the situation of
we just released to the public some songs previously, but that's the new era of digital streaming, and we call them singles. But again, it's weird for me. And we released a video of Crypts in the Mist, but I think that's it for now. Now we can enjoy the album in its entirety.
That's cool. Yeah. So 35 years in, you're still going strong and playing shows. What's next for Varathron? You're saying earlier you had some songs still, maybe, like,
Well, yes, we're still going strong, and we have plenty shows and tours around the world in the new year to promote our New York. We play in Portugal, we play in Germany. Now in a few days we play in Never Surrender Fest, one of the best fest in the world. Later in January we play in Portugal. We play in later in Romania, Germany, Poland, a lot, and then of course in summer.
Cyprus, Greece as well, because we don't play much in Greece.
Yes.
So that's an important thing for us too.
Yes.
In the summer?
In the summer we have the great Latin America tour again after 5, I think, years.
Maybe less.
Maybe less.
But this time will be the biggest Latin America. We go from Mexico.
A lot of dates.
From Mexico to Chile.
Yeah, awesome.
And that would be killer,
Yeah. Is there any chance any of that'll be recorded, your touring and that sort of thing, for live releases?
I don't think so, because we already did that previous time. We were in Brazil, I think. So I don't think we're going to record now. We're just going to
play,
enjoy,
and play
the madness.
That's great. Well, look, I know that it's a long way, but is there any chance that you could make it to Australian shores for some shows?
We wanted really. We wanted so much. It was, I think, the pandemic was the big, the big bad thing, to for us, because we had a plan to play in Australia, but I think and wish to play soon to see all our fans there.
Yeah, there was a plan to do a small Asian tour, so it was an opportunity to go to Australia as well, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Yes. And I think it's the same for Australian bands. It's very hard to go to Europe, or especially for underground bands. But I hope someday this we will manage.
Yeah.
There are people. Certainly, there are many fans in Australia.
Absolute champions, both of them. Thank you very much for joining us on Nightbreed Metal Radio. And there's an extended version of that interview available, those first two interviews, in the audio podcast, links below. Now, coming up a bit later, talking Autopsy and Terrestrials, but first, my top 10 cult films of 2023. So the way I do this, you know, sometimes a film will come out, or you'll catch a film and then technically it's 2022 release or something like that. I'm counting movies with releases that I could actually see in 2023. You know, if it got shown once at a festival, that doesn't count. It needs to be like available rental, however you get your movies, you know, wherever you are in the world, I think. So these are 2023 releases as far as I'm concerned, starting with number 10, Rib Spreader. Dick Dale is a Aussie filmmaker who the story is that he put in an idea, you know, and for a horror comp, that for a film that was going to get like funded and that kind of thing, for a short film, I think. And he didn't get it, but he put all the work in, and he says, you know, he wanted to make it real. So I think this is like a partly crowdfunded kind of thing. But man, it's killer. It's such a great film. So gory and fun. So basically, Brian is an old bloke who was the poster boy for a cigarette company when he was younger. And his mum dies of lung cancer. And an anti-smoking billboard thing comes to life and sort of pushes him in his mind to become the Rib Spreader, a serial killer who targets smokers. It's really, really Troma-esque. There's lots of nods to Troma as well. Like there's, you know, Toxic Avenger posters on the doors as a kid wearing a Toxie shirt. Lloyd Kaufman shows up, which is very cool. And just in tone and that kind of thing. Like if you love your Troma movies like Toxic Avenger, that sort of thing, and you love your gore and you kind of, yeah, just insanity, this is definitely a must-see. I really, really dug this, and I'm sure I'll be watching it many, many times more. It's just heaps of fun, Rib Spreader. Now, number 9 is When Evil Lurks. It's an Argentinian US co-production. Two brothers, they come across what they call a rotten. It's a person who's possessed by an unborn demon, and he's like this big bloaty sack man, you know, that just looks horrible and welty and all the rest of it. They try to deal with it, but it gets free, and then like chaos ensues, and these demons are getting everywhere and infecting the world, kind of thing. It's cool because there's really, really extreme scenes of horror, you know, like some of the and no, I don't just mean gory, which it is, but just the concepts, like stuff with pets and children and all that kind of thing. Really original, kind of crazy ideas. Like it was like an intense watch, you know. But it's also interesting because our main guy is a bit of an unreliable narrator. Like he's sort of there's stuff to do with his ex and the kids in the storyline, and it kind of is this, are we seeing his sort of point of view and not necessarily what's really happening and that kind of thing. So there's lots of that, which keeps it interesting, but it still works within its world as well, you know. And it's messy and crazy. Just, yeah, unbelievably good. When Evil Lurks. My number 8 is Last Voyage of the Demeter, directed by the Norwegian Andrew Overdal, who did Troll Hunter and The Autopsy of Jane Doe, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. 3 excellent films. So this is based on a chapter, The Captain's Log, in Bram Stoker's Dracula. And if you're familiar with the story, basically, you know, Dracula wants to go overseas. So he is transported on this doomed ship because, you know, he's buried in his little coffin. But then he comes out and feeds, and, you know, everyone's going to get killed by Dracula, basically. You know, it's this doomed voyage. And it's just really tense, you know, and there's some extreme gore, but it's like it's not like throughout, like it's mostly the build and the mood that wins this for me. I love it. Number 7 is Subspecies 5, Blood Rise. So it's been 2 decades since the last Subspecies film, which is kind of insane. Anders Hove, who plays Radu, he's gotten a lot older and a lot cooler. He's got a bit of a Klaus Kinski thing going on, like, and the real deep guttural voice and everything. It's super like sexy and gory, just like you want out of the subspecies films. But it's honestly, it's a lot nicer looking than most of the Full Moon Features films. Like they've spent a bit more money on it, taken a bit more time with it, and it really shows. Like it's still an independent, low budget kind of thing, but just more competently put together, I guess. And like I'm honestly number one Full Moon Features fan here. I'll watch them all. I'm a subscriber. I love it. But yeah, some of the films are kind of quick, like this is a funny thing that we're doing, sort of thing, standard. But then you get something like, Subspecies 5, Blood Rise, and it's like on a whole other level. Like just looks really slick and nice, and the framing and the lighting and everything is just up a lot of notches, and it's really cool. It's paid off. It's such a great film. I watched it a bunch of times this year. Number 6, Influencer. This is a Shudder film. There's this social media woman, Madison, who goes holidaying alone in Thailand. Her boyfriend ditches her or something. And, she's doing the whole phone up like, yep, I'm selling this product here in Thailand or whatever it is, And then she meets CW, this other young girl who's holidaying alone. And goes, kind of like protects her from a creepy man, this kind of thing, and befriends her. And then, oh no, Madison's passport's gone missing. So she's just got to stay longer or whatever. CW this is all sort of the first act. CW takes her out to this island in the middle of nowhere and basically leaves her there, and then like lives off her, sort of thing, off her funds, fakes her social media accounts, that sort of stuff. It's really well done, and funnily, like, you're like, yeah, you go get him, CW. Like, it's really cutting and satirical and funny, but also like a good thriller. And I just love that the first act really feels like a short film in itself, but it sets up everything for the rest of the film. It's really, really well done. And honestly, like, so funny. I laughed heaps watching this one. Influencers. It's rare that you like want the killer to win. Like that's really rare. But this is so well done, and funny performances, like nuanced performances. And again, so much with like relatively little money compared to other films. It's a fantastic film. Another film that's sort of in the same boat price-wise, I imagine, is Suitable Flesh. So this is written by Dennis Paoli, who also wrote Reanimator, From Beyond, other Lovecraft-based films. And Joe Lynch directed this one. I like Joe Lynch. So Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton, there's your two stars. There's your two massive reasons for watching this film anyway. They both play psychiatrists, and they're friends. And Heather Graham's character is met with this young man who's asking for her help, but it turns out he's possessed by a body swapping demon. It's so good, man. Like, it's like, super gory, super, super sexy, really funny. Like the body, imagine Heather Graham being like a level-headed, good character, and then switching to like being like having heaps of fun with it, like being a demon. It's awesome. And there's lots of callbacks to other Dennis Paoli and Stuart Gordon, Brian Usner movies, but it never detracts from the film. I think, like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, Ting, yep, I know what that is. Ting, I know what that is. That's funny, But then, like watching it with my wife, and she just enjoyed it for what it was, because it's not this invasive, like, oh, wink, wink, look at this. Like, I thought it was done really well. It's cool. My number 4 is Godzilla -1, which had a very limited cinema release recently over here. It's a Japanese prequel to the original Godzilla film. Begins near the end of World War II. This kamikaze pilot lands on an island where other soldiers are based, and then Godzilla attacks. And he survives, and the pilot, he goes home and finds that his parents have been killed and his hometown's destroyed by the bombing of Tokyo, like the real event bombing of Tokyo. And he gets a job looking for unexploded sea mines. and then he becomes involved in looking for Godzilla through that. It's easily one of the best Godzilla films. The effects look incredible. It's a nice, simple storyline. There's no like stupid MacGuffin shit going on. And it's just like a great underdog hero, you know, like a kamikaze, a failed kamikaze pilot, you know. It's just such a great film. My number 3 is Talk to Me. I got the super duper box set of that one. So this is Danny and Michael Philippou. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. They're both YouTubers who worked on the Babadook. I think they volunteered to work on the Babadook, and you know, just soaked it all in because they're into filmmaking, obviously. And then somehow, it's a very strong film, but A24 put this one out. So I don't know how that connection happened. I haven't read all of this yet. It does look like there's a lot to get through, which is nice. And all the cards, you know. Yeah, it's a cool set. Anyway, the film is amazing. So good. So basically, storyline wise, is these teenagers are hanging out, and then one of them pulls out this hand with all the writing on it, and you know, it's like a party trick kind of thing. Like you sit down, you get tied to a chair, you hold the hand, and you say, "Talk to me," and then you say, "I'll let you in," and there's like, you know, ghosts invade your body, take over your body. You know, it's really well done. Such a simple idea, and obviously related with like drugs and all that kind of stuff, but not in such a way that it's too much. Like, it's not on the nose or anything. It's just a really clever idea, and I think the way the teenagers have been written and the way they act rings true. It really does feel like a real group of teenagers hanging out, you know. And such an original idea as well, you know, like that's instantly like, oh, I can see that, I understand that, you know, like it's an easy sell, but which is a good thing because it's such an original idea. You're like, oh shit, of course, yeah, that's fantastic. Why hasn't anyone thought of this before, you know? Such a great film. I definitely want to see what they do next, even if it's a sequel to Talk to Me. That's fine. I just want to see. They're good at building tension, and they had such original ideas, and the way it's put together is excellent. It's such a good film. So, my number 2 is Shin Kamen Rider. It's the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider this year. I'm not overly familiar with Kamen Rider, to be honest, but it's been around for a long time, apparently. But this film version, there's a motorcyclist who's kidnapped by a group called Shocker. And he's changed into a human synthetic animal hybrid, and that they call them augments or orgs. And he's set free by a former Shocker member before he's brainwashed to become one of their minions. And he sort of becomes this stoic hero who saves the world. There's like giant creature battles, you know, smashing through cities, all that kind of stuff. And it's also super gory, you know, like lots of exploding heads and that kind of thing. It's directed by Hideaki Anno, the guy who created Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I love. And I love the way he puts stuff together, you know. He did like Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla as well, I'm pretty sure. So he knows how to do live action stuff. The way he shoots things is really bizarre. So like, there's one scene in this where someone's talking to someone else in the camera, rather than just being like a profile or, you know, some police procedural normal kind of shot. It's from like under the table looking up at him, you know, and like things like that, or it'll be like here and you can sort of see the bulbous eye of the character, that kind of thing. Lots of weird, like, but it's never jarring, you know. It sounds like a bit like, oh, that's crazy, how can you follow the story? But you absolutely can. It all comes through. It just makes it more interesting. I don't know how he does it. I don't know where the thought process is, but I love it and I love watching it. And it's really cool to see that really similar style of his anime come through with the live action as well. It's incredible that he can match that, you know, pretty awesome. And my number one is Sissy. This is so good. Another amazing Australian horror film, which technically came out at some festival 2022, but for the rest of us, it was this year. The storyline is Cecilia and Emma are BFFs when they're kids, you know. They're like, take a pledge, like, yeah, we'll be friends forever. And they lose contact, and Cecilia, on the cover here, is a YouTuber, you know, who promotes mindfulness and yoga and all this kind of stuff. And then she bumps into Emma, and Emma invites Cecilia to her bachelorette trip. And Alex, the girl who used to bully Cecilia and call her Sissy, that's the title, she's going to be there too because she's still friends with Emma. And it starts there, you know. Cecilia is like so intense a character, you know, like, but it's interesting, but also funny and sort of realistic. It's a lot in tone. It reminded me a lot of Bodies, and maybe a little bit Influencer as well, in that it understands youth culture, and I'm pretty sure it's made by young people. There's a young duo that did this one. So yeah, it understands youth culture, but can also rip into it, you know, like in a really effective satirical way. I think it's really great, and I want to see more films like this, you know. It's good to see. But yeah, this is clever and thriller clever and all that, but also hilarious and biting and funny, you know. Yeah, such a good film and such awesome, intense, authentic performances, you know. I love it. Now, another band, Terrestrials. This is a band out of Melbourne. They do sort of like an alt rock metal thing. We talk about bands like Clog and that sort of thing. Adrian and Scotty from Terrestrials.
Oh, it's probably fair to say, not immediately after the EP, but a reasonably soon after. Yeah, like within a year or so, it started to, you know, conceive some of the ideas towards the album. I think Adrian and I had some sessions together where we just worked on a couple of songs that one in particular ended up making it on the album, and then it was just a bit of a progression from there. And then obviously pandemic thing got in the way and derailed us a little bit, but it was a bit of a blessing that, you know, we got that little bit more time to stick with the songs and be, you know, a little bit more fine-tuned, and yeah, just the little nuances really developed over time because of that extra time that we had to play with them. So yeah, a fairly quick turnaround after the EP.
Yeah, cool. Okay. How does songwriting work with you guys? Like, obviously, so Scotty, you're doing the lyrics. Do you have a chat and say, oh, look, these are the themes we want to go for, this is kind of the feel, or is it something different?
In terms of lyrical themes, the guys sort of just let me trail off into the distance and do my own thing, and then when I sort of give an overarching idea, or I'll just present the songs in a certain way, and then I guess because of that period of time, there was a subconscious theme anyway. It sort of just happened organically. And then I guess the conversations around the overarching theme tied into the album art and the mood musically and lyrically. And I guess there's an origin of the themes of the songs that just starts with me in my own time, and then discussions have the discussions take place later on. Yeah.
Cool. And what about you, Adrian, with songwriting? Like, do you have a riff and you're like, this is the thing, or is there some kind of like, for this recording we're trying to do X, you know, like?
Usually, say 90% of the time, it starts off with either me or the bass player Lee will come in with a riff or some sort of little idea, and then we'll just jam on it. And sometimes it just feels really good, and then we know we've kind of got something, and just kind of evolves from there. Add bits here and there. You know, there might be some nights where we can't think of anything to add to it, and then a month or two later, some sort of spark happens and it just goes from there. But with one of the albums, actually probably the first one we wrote after the EP, I said to Scotty, let's write a 30 Seconds to Mars inspired song, and that became One of Us. I think
that was the song I was referring to before.
Yeah, that's probably the song that had the most direction before it started. Everything else kind of been really organic and just vibing out, and then we add the intricate parts later.
Yeah, cool.
And that was the very first thing that we started on after the EP, I remember. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, well, you say 30 Seconds to Mars. I was going to say this later, but let's get into it.
Good time for
it. If I had to categorize what Terrestrials are, what am I calling Terrestrials? What's the genre?
If you can master it for us, then amazing, because we've been trying to work it out for a few years now, especially because we all come from different backgrounds that sort of add an elemental different flavor. Like Adrian's a bit of a rock and pop and sort of jazz kid, I guess, from being classically trained and being a kick-ass muso, and then Maddie was a bit of a punk and hardcore metal kid, a bit of a cross those few genres, and I was a little bit of a mishmash of pop and classic rock, and then really moved into the alt rock with the noughties, and then obviously the prog thing came along, and that was just that was the turning point. I think for all of us. I think all of us I think there was something in prog that, I mean, not that we are super prog, but we're heavily inspired by prog. I think those bands really brought the four of us as musos together, and it made our music made sense. It was like a center point. It made it all connect somehow. And
I think we're talking about Carnival, Cog, Delta Circus, so particularly Australian prog.
Yeah, specifically Aussie stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. So would you agree that are they the gods of prog for you, or is there some other as a band you're
there's always
the bands,
there is Tool, of course. There was another one. Butterfly Effect for me. I'm not sure about the other guys as much, but as a vocalist, found Clint Boge to be, I just sort of resonated with that hyper melodic singing that really works with heavy music. I've always really clicked with that, and obviously Kenny from Carnival. I think Lee and I would agree that Carnival are the kings, overarching kings, and I think Adrian would probably say Cog are the kings in terms of the Australian prog world. I'm speaking for you, but
they're my favorite. I don't think I still feel, generally speaking, people hold Carnival in higher regards, but I don't know. Yeah, Cog's my favorite.
Yeah, that's cool.
They all kick ass. There's no doubt about that. But I think for me, the sentimental value with Carnival will always be special. They were the first band that I in that field, in that genre, that I really fell in love with. I think I heard Center of the Earth when I was about 16, and I was just like, oh my God, this is mind-blowing shit. And then, everything from there, I'd always trail back to Carnival and be like, these guys are absolute kings, and they'll always hold a really special spot for me.
Yeah, that's cool. So recording your vocals, Perennial Trials, you can hear there's layers and harmonies. Are you harmonizing yourself? Is that?
Yeah, I do all the vocals.
Yeah. So how do you choose what to sing live? Maybe Adrian needs to get his singing chops up or something. I don't know. How do you pick what's the
I've tried and Lee's been trying more recently, but I've given up on the singing thing. My physiology, you just think, if you think of a $25 guitar you find in an op shop, that's what my vocal cords are. It's the instrument I'm working with.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, so how do you decide, okay, this one is the one that's kind of more the hook or whatever? Like when you're singing live, how do you pick,
I guess that's exactly it. What's the strongest and what feels like a lead part, And I think most of the time it's fairly obvious what the lead parts are, and then I mean we love to use all those things as samples anyway, so they end up being, played back live.
Yeah, cool.
Just to fill out that sound vocally as well.
Yeah.
And as it'd be wrong to not have them there because it just feels full. And I guess it's fairly straightforward in a way because you can just tell what the strongest parts are, and we just go from there. And then Lee does his magic, and we've got backing tracks, and hopefully one of the boys will keep working their way towards getting there as a vocalist. But I think Lee's pretty keen on getting there, so he'll keep fine tuning it.
Yeah, that's cool. When I saw Cog last, that's obviously they're like a 3-piece or whatever, right? But they've definitely got the backing, and you need it to fill out the, that's what it's in your head. That's the song,
Sure.
Yeah.
I think for us, like I distinctly remember Adrian, you and I going and seeing Cog and hearing those tracks and things and feeling a little bit mixed for a little while. Like I think I always had a little bit of a narrow idea that it was cheating in a way. It was kind of like, they're not doing it at time, but that ideology is completely shifted. I think if you've written it and you're a 3-piece and you're, whatever, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with using it. You've written it, you've recorded it, you've performed it in that time. And Cog were the catalyst for that. They were like to hear a 3-piece sound like that was mind blowing. To hear a 3-piece sound that huge, I was like, well, let's do that too. We're not quite there in terms of backing vocals. We need to have them there, so let's do it that way.
Yeah, that's cool. And Cog still managed to have that groove and stuff going as well. Like it's not some kind of rigid weird thing. Like it feels pretty natural.
Yeah. And then Lucius does a lot of backing vocals as well. So they've got multiple things going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they both do. I think Luke, is it Luke? Yeah, the bass player.
Yeah.
I think he sings a bunch as well. So they should sort of share duties and then have, extra layers and textures and all kinds of cool shit happening.
Yeah. That's cool. And again with the recording, there's some cool hard pans going on, like with the guitars at the start of Hollow Hands and stuff like that. How did you guys sort of mix this together? How do you guys kind of decide how do we want that kind of thing going on?
That was kind of Luke's, our audio engineer and producer. We will call him producer because he actually had quite a lot of creative input, and the panning stuff was
cool.
Was his experimentation. He's added a fair bit to our songs. Also in the studio, just like creative comments saying how that part was cool, but maybe it could be cooler. Something like that pretty much happened on every song. So it was really, really great to work with him because I think that's a bit rarer these days for an audio engineer to delve deeper.
He's super constructive, like he's always thinking how can this be better? Like foundations are there. Let's work on it. Let's make it as great as it possibly can be. And I think he has such an endeavor, to want to improve bands. And I think that we really needed that. I think he was very nurturing and very supportive and never overstepped or, anything like that. Very mild mannered and very easy to work with.
Cool. How'd you guys get together? Like, how'd you get together with him?
With Luke?
Yeah.
I think he literally just reached out to us. I think we got an email one day and we saw who he'd worked with and we were like, let's get in touch with this guy. So he was an assistant for, I think at the Catalyst Fire with Dead Letter Circus and had done a bit of stuff with Carnival, and we were like, absolutely, let's get in touch with this guy. And I think we had a meeting. I think we met up at a pub and had some dinner, and had a beer or so and sort of just had a chat about what our plans were. And yeah, we needed a bit of encouragement to get our shit together. So that was really that was probably the pivotal moment and bit of a catalyst.
That's cool. The video for Hollow Hands. How did you come up with that concept? Like giving birth to an inflatable tube. Where did that idea come from?
Well, we keep saying that you get stuck with that role if you miss a band meeting. So Lee was the poor bastard who missed the band meeting that night, and we came up with that idea, and he was a trooper and owned it. But in terms of the concept, I think Adrian and I have always just found those particular waving things at kayaks just utterly ridiculous, just the most silly things you'll ever see, and we were just thinking, we can use this. I think we've just always thought that they were stupid, so we're like, let's do something. Let's do something with it. I think maybe it came up like on one of the shopping ads. I think you came across it by accident, and you're like, oh, we can buy our own. All right, cool. Okay, we can work with this. And then one dumb idea flowed into the next, and I think we probably had a few beers together, and our silly brains came together, and you have a stupid masterpiece, perhaps.
It was lots of fun. The scene, the restaurant scene, like there was an actual real waiter serving Flippy. I was surprised that people were happy to play along. It was very, very awkward at times, especially doing things in public, but we found it very funny. And I don't really know where the idea came from. It seems like it came a while back, but I'm glad it came around.
Yeah. So talking about the restaurant scene, like, did you approach them and say, look, this is what we're doing, or did you just kind of sit down and see what happens?
No, we did actually ask them if it was okay. It was more so just like bringing a camera in and filming. Weren't too worried about bringing a dumb toy in. But we asked, and they were just like, yeah, sure. The other restaurant goers were laughing and probably being a bit confused, but
I think in their minds they were like, what the fuck is going on? What are they doing? It's pretty obscure. It was very entertaining at times, very uncomfortable at times, as you said.
That's great. I love it. I've watched it 3 times. Like there's all these little things. It's pretty great, man.
Thanks, man.
So talking about singles, so it's Hollow Hands, Triggers, and Perennial Trials, right? How did you guys decide, what are we going to put out first? Like, how do you kind of figure that out?
I think, like, for me personally, I think I wanted to sort of showcase a little bit of what the album's going to be like. We sort of wanted one that was maybe a bit more of the straight up, rock song, which is Hollow Hands. It's a bit of a funk rock song, I suppose. It's pretty straightforward. Like, there's nothing too complex about it. It's quite accessible. So sort of just wanted to give little glimpses of what the album might be like without giving away too much. And then I think with Triggers, I personally felt like the melodies were really strong, and I felt like it was really hooky, and maybe a little bit more complexity in there. Like, Adrian's guitar playing is fucking next level. And that might entice the proggier, more technical heads. Just sort of wanted to spread our potential for people to connect to a multitude of different songs. And I guess Perennial Trials is probably, out of the 3, it's probably the most proggy in terms of length and changes and whatever. But there was one other song that we had floating in the mix that is probably our most proggy song that we really ummed and ahed about releasing, but felt like it maybe didn't quite sit with Triggers and Hollow Hands as much, as maybe a little bit too far away from the first single in a way. But yeah, like it was a lot of communication between each other, because everybody's got favourites, and there was a bit of compromise. And I felt like Hollow Hands had such a really strong chorus, like a big like soaring chorus that I felt like that was really strong, and that was number one for me. Like that had to be there.
What do you reckon, Adrian? Are you happy with the the three?
Yeah,
or do you have
yeah.
a disagreement there?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And it also wasn't based on like the three strongest songs. Like we think those songs that we haven't released as singles yet are probably just as strong, but just as releases, those seem to make sense, and we just came to that agreement pretty quickly. So
Cool.
yeah, it just felt right.
Crazy. I saw that you got that video live at the Bendigo Bones. Did you guys shoot more than one song at that gig? Like, is there maybe more of those to come?
Yeah, we've got a few lined up. So the filming of that wasn't really planned. It's kind of like someone offered, and then we asked the sound guy if they can record from the desk, and weren't quite sure what to expect, but it just turned out sounding great and looking great. So we'll be putting out some of the songs that all four of us are comfortable with. Like there's a couple of songs where I made a few bum notes, which there's enough songs in there that we play well that we'll go with those.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think we really just wanted some quality live footage. I just felt like we were a bit thin in that area. I wanted to give people a bit of a glimpse of what a live show might look like. And we got the audio back and we're pretty blown away by it. So we thought, shit, yeah, let's get it up there and maybe release a few of them as somewhat singles. And also, we sort of flirted with the idea of it be potentially being like an unofficial single for a few. So there'll be more to come.
Thanks to the guys from Terrestrials. You can stream their stuff right now. I had a brief chat with Chris from Autopsy, who was, of course, a part of Death for Scream Bloody Gore, so what a legend. And yeah, has been, formed Autopsy and more recently Static Abyss. We get into it. Firstly, talking about his appearance on Cathedral's last album. You were on the final Cathedral album, backing vocals on Cathedral of the Damned. Yeah, how did that come about? That's pretty awesome.
No, I don't think anyone's ever asked me about that. I was in touch with Lee for some reason. It's weird. For some reason, we'll be in touch every 5 years. I'll just get a random email from him or something. I actually bumped into him last year in London when we were playing a show over there, and that was really cool. We got to hang out for a minute. Yeah. I kind of loosely know him. We were in touch. I don't even remember why. It was we were emailing each other about something or nothing, and he mentioned that they were doing their last album, and I jokingly said, "Hey, if you need me to do some kind of guest vocals on it, I'll totally do it." I was totally a joke. He's like, "Yeah, sure."
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't think he was going to take me up on it. So he's like, "Yeah, I have this part in mind. You just write something for it." So he let me just write the verse, which I don't even know if I knew what the other lyrics were. So it probably has nothing to do with the rest of the lyrics in that song. It was simple as that. He basically called me out on my bluff, and it actually happened.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's another band you're with, Static Abyss. You guys put out another album in June this year, yeah, his second one.
Yeah.
Yourself and Greg, how did Static Abyss start?
That was actually really fun because it was one of the fun things that came out of lockdown and all that shit here. Yeah. Because everyone on Earth had the same story. Everything got all fucked up, and no one could do anything for a minute. But the thing is, with Greg, I need a sip of coffee for this story. Or just to live, really. Coffee. So Greg is an engineer by trade. He has his own studio, and he's pretty well known and stuff like that. So during that period, he couldn't have actual human clients in his studio because of, you know, close quarters and all that sort of stuff. But he had this rare opportunity to set up his gear in this venue in San Francisco called the Great American Music Hall, which is one of my favorite venues. I've seen so many cool shows there. It's just one of those places where you walk in and it feels cool. I'm sure you've been somewhere like that. You just walk in, you're like, oh yeah, the sound is good, the atmosphere is good and all that. But he knew someone who had an inn there, and he was able to set up his gear there. And he would have bands set up on the stage, and he would set up his recording gear like kind of like towards the end of the hall, so he could actually like earn a living and do sessions, and everyone was, you know, did their distance thing and all that. So it was great. And he just had this weird idea of doing something with me. This is before we knew he was going to get an Autopsy. We just kind of like knew him from the practice building because we'd see him in the halls, and I'd worked with him on some projects too, so I knew him fairly well. He just one day he called me. He's like, "Hey, I want to do a session with you at the Great American Music Hall." And before he even said what it was, I said, "Fuck yeah, I'm in. Let's do it," because I love that place. I'm like, record there? Yeah. And I asked him what it was going to be, and he said, "I don't know." So that got my curiosity up. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that sounds cool." I like the element of mystery here. So what it turned out to be was he already had drums set up on the stage, so I didn't even have to like bring my shit. I had not played drums for about a year and a half because of the state of the world, so I was really worried about sucking. So I went to the Autopsy practice room and just played drums by myself a couple of times just to get my chops up. As a drummer, you know, if you don't play for a while, you get really terrible. Yeah. Just like the stamina aspect. So like I went to a practice room all by myself, which is really boring. I never played drums by myself. It's just like you look around, there's no one there. Like, man. And I was struggling to do even like a rock beat. I'm like, oh, it's been a year and a half. Both the drumsticks seemed like they weighed 10 pounds, right? So, but you know, I did it for a few hours, and then I felt good enough to go and do something. I'm like, cool. So I showed up, met Greg over there, and he had like a few riffs recorded in his phone, and that was it. And he would just throw riffs at me, and then he'd just make up some on the spot. This is a very long answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Yeah.
he would just like give me riffs, and I would like come up with a beat, and we would just sort of like Frankenstein a song together until it was a full song. And then we would like memorize it, like, okay, this is a whole song. Cool. And then he would record it. Yeah. And then we would do another one just like that. So we did like 5 songs or something, not intending for it to be a band or an album. It was just kind of like an activity to stay sane and do something musical. And so it came out cool. And then we decided to do it again, like the next week or whatever it was, and do a few more songs that way. So we ended up with 10 songs or 11, whatever it is. And all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, we have an album's worth of this stuff. And it actually sounds cool. And we finished it off at his studio. He added all his crazy guitar stuff and bass, and I went and did vocals. And all of a sudden we had an album, and we came up with a name for it, told Peaceville about it. They heard it and they liked it, and they came out, and then we did it again. So 2 albums.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very, very, no rehearsal required. It was just like, make it up, record it, next song until it's done. It's actually, I've never worked like that before. It was really fun.
That's cool. Because obviously both of you, in Autopsy, but Static Abyss doesn't sound like Autopsy. It has its own thing going on. Like, how did you sort of make that happen? Did you go in with something? You were saying it was just kind of a bit at a time, eh? Like,
all those riffs are Greg's ideas. I mean, he's well versed in death metal. He's been around the block, for a long time. He's got, I don't know if you've familiarized yourself with his musical output, but he's got several bands that are, some are active, some are not. Like Deathgrave is very active. That's one of his bands. He's done other stuff like Leather Glove, which actually sounds a lot like Static Abyss with the crazy guitar layers and stuff. If you look at Leather Glove, like, oh, that's very Static Abyss-ish.
Okay.
Or he's got a band called Brain Oil. And he worked with Autopsy. He recorded our Puncturing the Grotesque record at his place. So he knows death metal, he knows Autopsy, but he also has his own weird Greg ideas, like all those bizarre guitar harmonies or anti-harmonies stacked up. Those are all his idea. So I just provided the drums and the vocals and the lyrics, and all the musical landscape was totally his doing. You know, his brain is weird, man.
So
in a good way.
Sorry?
Oh, I just said in a good way.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool. So do you think you'll get together, and will we get more Static Abyss in the future?
I don't know. I all I can say is if he gets inspired to do it again, and if he asks me to do it again, I'll say yeah, for sure.
Cool.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no, good. Hope so, man. So Autopsy, the new album's out. You guys got plans, shows, that kind of stuff, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. We just finished our last show for the year.
Oh, yeah.
That this last weekend, and that was fucking sick. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was insane. We played with a bunch of our basically our heroes. You know, we played with Pagan Altar. We played with Legions of Doom, which had Scott Riegers from Saint Vitus on vocals, and Ron Holzner from Trouble on bass, and they were both super cool. You know, I came up to Scott Riegers. I'm like, dude, I got into you guys when I was 16 in fucking 85, and he blew me away. He's like, man, I got turned into you guys, or onto you guys from my nephew who's a fan of yours. And it was super bizarre and so cool. And Coven was on the bill, and you know, I got to meet Jinx Dawson and shit, and it was just like a crazy cool weekend. But we're done for the year. We've got a couple things coming up next year. We got a fest in Texas in March. We're playing Obscene Extreme in Czech Republic in July, which is supposed to be pretty wild and crazy, and it should be a good time. Yeah. We're confirming a couple of other things, kind of like little details and shit. We would love to make a new album next year, just less hurry than the last two times. So we'll kind of like be a little more leisurely about it. Yeah, I don't know. We're sort of like putting the puzzle together for next year, you know, slowly. But we'll definitely be up to all sorts of shenanigans, I'm sure.
No, good. Awesome, man. Well, Chris, thanks heaps for your time. It's been awesome to chat, and hopefully you guys make it back to Oz, man. Like, it'd be cool to see Autopsy on stage over here, man.
We would love to do it, man.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for an invitation. You know, that's really all it comes down to, and we really got one. So maybe it'll happen. Who knows? You know, we're hanging out here in the meantime.
Yeah, cool, awesome. All right, cheers, Chris. Have a good one, man. Thanks a lot.
You too. Go back to bed or something. You know.
yeah. I'm gonna get ready for work, unfortunately. But anyway.
Yeah. I thought drinking that Red Bull, man. I guess you're getting ready.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Good talking to you.
Big thanks to Chris for joining us on Nightbreed. Thank you, sir. Let me know what you think, everyone, of the new format. I'm planning on maybe 1 or 2 longer videos a month, and the weekly audio podcast will continue, so you can get your interviews and music news frequently. But yeah, let me know what you think. And also, if there's any bands out there, solo projects, bands, whatever, if you come under the umbrella of metal and you want to come on for a chat, I would love to talk to you. So just hit me up, even just write a comment below if you want, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, links below. And hit me up, because I'm honestly keen to promote metal. It's good fun. I like doing it. Now, speaking of promoting metal, I'm going to promote something I'm putting out. Toxik Volcano, the new EP, is out 1st of January 2024. So chances are you're watching this you are able to access this on streaming right now. Toxik Volcano, Drown the World in Lava. This is their third EP. There's a very limited tape run. They're probably all gone, but as I said, it's available everywhere. And there's going to be a Toxik Volcano CD very shortly, coming up early this year, which will include the first 3 EPs. I'm just sorting it out at the moment, so more news on that. And to keep up with what's going on with Wrestle On Records and Nightbreed Metal Radio, all the links are below. I wish you a happy new year with lots of good metal and lots of good shows to go to, which we have. Pretty lucky. Let's wrap it up with the new video. This is a track from Drown the World in Lava. This is Toxik Volcano, Return to Primordial Sludge. See ya.